I want to share how Word of the Day can be transformational, not just on a straight creative level. As we all know, the basis for most of our problems with creation have to do with emotional problems and things that we have observed in our past, the shadows that we experienced as children and the echoes that they now create in our present state of being. Always so delighted when I find out that the Word of the Day has helped someone with an actual personal problem. So I'll tell you one story. I had a friend who was a therapist who had been in therapy for 14 years, and he had an eating problem. And what would happen is that he would work all day, and then suddenly, around 11 o'clock, he would go and binge basically on pizza. And he was about 20 pounds overweight. And he was a very, very handsome guy, and it really, really bothered him that he was flabby. And we were having dinner one night, and he was saying, to me, because I'm slender, how is it that you never gain weight and you're always slender? And I said, well, I use this technique, it's called the Word of the Day, where when I'm really stressed out, I work it out on paper using these techniques. And what I discovered in the course of the practice was I found my trigger, which for some reason is I'm always afraid I'm going to have no money and starve to death, whether it's past life or whatever it is. There's no reason in my life for me to feel this way, and yet I do. And I said, so if I ever find that I am eating too much or eating compulsively, something has triggered this old memory, let's call it. And so the way that I do that is I have a technique that I use with the Word of the Day where it's always about plenty. I found a word that I can use repeatedly in plenty. And whenever I do a Word of the Day about plenty, it reminds me that no matter how much of this thing I binge on, there'll always be more. And for whatever reason, that was my route to never having any emotional experiences about food. Because I was able to, using the Word of the Day, find, it's like a literary trigger. I mean, we don't know if I really had a past life in which I was starving, but it works as a good story. And the words of that story get me to the place where I'm experiencing the upset that is causing me to then go to do the behavior. And that's the secret of curing everything. So at the end of all this, 3 months later, he had lost 20 pounds. And he said, Marilyn, I was in therapy for 14 years, and it only took 90 days to completely fix this terrible affliction that has bothered me since I was a teenager. So I'm not trying to be fancy about this, but I'm going to tell you something, that this Word of the Day process has power, and it can really affect your whole life, because of course when you feel good about how you look, everything else you do is going to be better. So if you find this interesting, please come and join us on social media, have a webinar, buy a book, etc., and see below.